Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. Got two cows with me right here in the on the panel. We got General Dog, who is better known as Kevin Lears, and DF Sports, better known as Derek Frisbee. And we're waiting on Brian. We're not seeing anything from Brian. Maybe he's having some computer problems, or maybe just some problems at large. Maybe he's just so pissed at me that he doesn't want to show up. Who knows? We'll find out as we progress through the program. Early show stuff. All right. We have some cuts to announce, as we figured we would. You just don't know. They come in, they trickle in. The Browns have cut defensive end Curtis Weaver, safety Sheldrick Redwine.
No surprise.
Quarterback Kyle Lauletta.
No surprise.
Yep, and this is just the first trickling in of names. To discuss these guys, Curtis Weaver never amounted to a whole hell of a lot. There was some hope from Derek early on about this guy, but he just didn't have the goods come preseason, and maybe no matter what he would have done with the body count, he wouldn't be able to. Sheldrick Redwine, a player who played a lot of snaps last year, who's never been very impressive to me, and gave up the touchdown in yesterday's game.
Too slow.
Yeah, he just can't get to the ball in time. And then you've got Kyle Lauletta, and honestly, Lauletta just has no accuracy whatsoever. And
I have never seen a more inaccurate quarterback play for the Browns, I don't think.
Yeah, well, I mean, Deshaun Kaiser was right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, somebody who just couldn't get the ball to an open guy, and the ball would sail wildly. I mean, he had that one really good game, and then, he came back to reality. So,
or when he would get it there, then they would drop it, just like Corey Coleman in that Steelers game.
Yeah, I mean, and then what you have here, well, and honestly, it's like they say in baseball, when you have a pitcher who's an inordinately slow working pitcher and takes forever between pitches, his infielders get skittish, lose their concentration, and they make errors. And the same thing, you start running patterns and you're wide open, and the quarterback throws the ball literally like 5 feet over your head. You're just not going to press as hard the next time. So Lauletta's out. We're going to carry two quarterbacks and probably somebody on the practice squad to, and I don't know what that's going to be. I don't think I want to know. JoJo Natson was also cut. So this doesn't surprise me either. I'll be honest with you. JoJo Natson to me did not look fast. And he looked so small on the play where there was a pass interference called against his defender. He never left the ground for the ball. I mean, he was hooked, but not that badly. He just didn't look like a player. And then the one ball the punt he kicked that he was trying to return and go wide with, guy just outran him and just knocked him down. A molecule of air could knock him down.
He's definitely compensating for his ACL tear.
Maybe.
It reminds me of the times when people would just take Eric Metcalf down with one arm.
Yeah, but the thing with Eric Metcalf is if he built up a head of steam, it was kind of like Joshua Cribbs, but with more cutting in the open field. JoJo Natson just there's no place to play him, and he was made expendable by Demetric Felton. While I'm on his name, Demetric Felton is not a running back. He cannot be looked upon as a replacement running back if one of our top drawer guys goes down. We're going to have no choice but to keep Ernest Johnson. At least I hope we do, because if one of our running backs gets hurt, I know that Ernest Johnson can hit a hole. Demetric Felton looks like he gets stretched out wide on every play he runs, and he doesn't have the strength to be an inside runner. The one thing I'll say about Ernest Johnson, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's a north-south guy, and he knows that. When he sees something ahead of him, he immediately cuts north-south and gets the positive yardage. He's not a glamorous running back, but he could legitimately, if a guy went down with a soft tissue injury, he could fill in for a couple of weeks and do a good job.
Well, and Moo, I said it in your chat the other day. I can't remember if it was halftime or what. Behind this offensive line, I mean, it's as simple as see the hole, go through the hole, and that's what he's doing. Demetric Felton, on the other hand, even going back to UCLA, he's always wanted to bounce it out. He's wanting to get in the open field, which is fine, and we're going to use him as a Duke Johnson style of player, but you have to have that between the tackles guy that you can count on, and Dearness Johnson has proven it yesterday as well as other games that he can do that.
Yes, and as far as that Duke Johnson kind of running back, there's a reason why Duke Johnson never amounted to a whole hell of a lot in the NFL, and that's that
he's a role player.
Not only is he a role player, he's not fast, he's not a game breaker, he doesn't break a lot of tackles, he's shifty, and Demetric Felton is a guy who, at the very, very most, will be a Swiss Army knife guy. And he doesn't show anything to me. And being that he was a 6th-round pick, there's a reason for that, folks. And there are limitations there.
And based on what I've seen so far, I'm sorry to cut you off. I like Demetric Felton as a wide receiver more than I liked Duke Johnson. Am I wrong there?
No, I don't think that you're wrong. I don't think there's a very good sample size. I think Duke Johnson got hurt so much because he was undersized too. I mean, I think
that's true.
Is the other thing that really plays into this whole thing. I don't think Demetric Felton is any more able to come in and play a lot of reps. Dearness Johnson, on the other hand, can come in and play a good number of reps. Demetric Felton has to be used strategically. And I think that if you do try to run him between the tackles, he's going to end up like Duke Johnson, which was hurt all the time. It ruined Duke Johnson's career.
If I remember right, Duke Johnson was pretty skinny for a running back.
He just wasn't big, and he didn't absorb the punishment, and he could not run between the tackles efficiently. And when he did, and was able to thread his way through, the body punishment was just too much from bigger men,
Well, and even going back with Felton to his college days, they did not use him very much as a running back. That's why when we drafted him and they announced running back, I was like, wait a minute, because every highlight I seen was from the wide receiver position. So I thought that was interesting. But I like him as the I can't remember if he was on kick returns or punt returns. I thought he looked a little bit better than maybe you thought. But there's just so many guys at that position.
It's all about physics. When you're getting tackled by linebackers more than half the time and you don't have meat on those bones, that's going to add up.
Yeah, it is. It's a cumulative punishment. And, best impact, get off the Kaderl Hodge thing already. I mean, what does he have to do? Does he have to show up to your house and do what? And do sexual favors for your mom? I mean, come on. The guy's made the team. Kaderl Hodge is going to be on the team. And now we see Brian. You okay, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay,
Finally.
Good.
But yeah.
Good. We didn't want to miss you, so I was looking out for you. And grouping Johnson, Hodge, and Felton together doesn't make any sense, best impact, because Johnson is a running back, Felton is a Swiss Army knife, and also Dearness Johnson can play special teams. Hodge can play special teams, is a receiver with length who can block. These players are all going to be on the final 53. I don't mean to disappoint you.
Well, and the Davion Davis thing, that was one of the guys that people were talking about as a potential Hodge. Yeah, and that's the thing. He's gone. He's not going to make the team. So
yeah, I mean, and look, this is what you need to see. He wasn't getting separation against the Atlanta secondary for whatever reason that is, and it seemed like the only person he could catch passes from was Kyle Lauletta, which means the other team's third and fourth string was on the field. So right off the bat, if you put him on the field with first and second stringers, and he can't get open, then he's, with a lack of size, there's no value to that player. And now Best Impact is going after Billings. I highly doubt Billings will be cut, but he's not impressed me. Okay?
He's looked terrible.
Absolutely. He looks old and fat.
And I tell you what, I've been very impressed with Jordan Elliott. I think he's taken a pretty big step, along with guys like Malik McDowell and some of these other guys. But with Marvin Wilson being cut today, that opens up a spot for some of these guys to step in and fill that role.
Yeah, and let that talk about the short money. I mean, Marvin Wilson's the guy we paid a lot of money for, by UDFA standards. And making the Browns ain't easy right now. This is a much harder cut than we have seen in a long, long time. Bob Lanham, how you doing? Nice to see you in the studio. And as far as Felton is concerned, I think that it is likely that he will be returning punts. I think that is something that he will be doing. He's not a guy who is going to break the long one. But look, if he can get more than 4 yards, it's better than what we saw last year.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of the way I look at that. And I think he's shiftier than Duke, because Duke, by the time he played for us, and it was bruised and battered because the team couldn't figure out. They kept saying they wanted to use him one way, but then they kept running him between the tackles and he got his body beaten up. He lost a lot of that shiftiness. By the time he went to Houston, he was no longer the player that he used to be. So this is the short careers of professional football.
Well, and I also don't think the Browns they didn't have the luxury that we do now to use him in that specific role. I think more back then we were forced to use him more as a running back than a split out slot receiver.
Now, Best Impact saying, so 7 wide receivers. No, there will be 6 wide receivers. Hello. Anthony Schwartz is going to be your 6th receiver. He did catch 1 pass. He had 1 ball thrown his way. And that was just a little out pattern to the sideline. But no, he'll be your 6th. Your mainstay.
He was
That's
the
because
one
they're
that
not going to show
PI.
anything.
He was the one that got the PI on the go pattern, because the defensive back just played right through him and never turned his head at all. So
Yeah, I mean, so Anthony Schwartz is going to be on there. But your main receivers, you know who they are, Best Impact. Do your counting, get your fingers out. All right, and let's name them, shall we? All right, we've got OBJ and we've got Jarvis Landry. All right, those guys. Then we've got Rashard Higgins.
Rashard Higgins.
Right, and we got Kadero
Donovan
Hodge,
Peoples-Jones,
and Donovan
DPJ.
Peoples-Jones, and Schwartz, right?
Yep.
So that's 6. That's not 7. Wait a minute. There, you see how that goes? All right.
Gotcha.
Yep. So, yeah, that's it. That's it for the wide receivers. I think that's you can pretty well book that. I'm more interested in what's going to happen on the defensive line with Malik McDowell. I really, he was again getting into the backfield, and I don't know what to make of that.
It's his physical traits too. I mean, that's what separates him from these other D tackles. When he was coming out of Michigan State, his size and his ability and his athleticism. It was never about his play. It was always about his off the field stuff. And we haven't had any issues yet, knock on wood. But yeah, he definitely should make this final 53, especially when you got guys like Billings who are about as unathletic as you can get, like we talked about.
Felton is not a wide receiver. Hello? You with me? Yeah.
He'll play wide receiver, but he'll be listed as a running back.
Yes. I mean, he's going to be a guy who they're going to have certain sets that utilize a back out of the backfield who's a receiving threat. That's what he is. What is he? He's a guy with a dick this big, and he's not going to get cut. That might be, what is he? He's kind of an all-purpose back who's way better coming out of the backfield. He's a one-on-one matchup with a linebacker.
Duke
He's
Johnson.
shown value in catching the ball, and that's what his role's going to be. He's going to be a guy who, if you don't go with the tight end formation on third down to get a short yardage reception, you'll be throwing the ball to him.
Yep, role player.
It's a very, very common position in NFL football. This is not anything that we're inventing here.
And I have an unrelated thought. In all the years that I've been coming here, we've never had we've never had a starting quarterback that was good enough to be held out of most of the preseason, then finally play and look like he was in season form right off the bat.
Yeah, it's familiarity, it's confidence, it's a whole bunch of things, And Captain Fierce is saying, I really actually caption Fierce. I think you got to kind of correct that. You're dyslexic. Dearness might get cut. I don't think so. I just, knowing what happens with running backs during the course of a season, you got to keep your hands on Dearness Johnson, because he is. If you let him go, you know what's going to happen. The fucking Ravens will take him. You know that, don't you? After the whole J.K. Dobbins thing, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. And, Bob, he did look good. And I was waiting to see if Malik McDowell kind of was a one-week wonder. And, it's going to be interesting because it's not like he's going to play during the season.
I think he will. I think he might get pretty good time, actually.
Well, we hope not. If anybody else develops and does what they're supposed to do, or a veteran has a better year. But if we're down to a guy who hadn't played an organized football game in 5 years and getting a lot of burn on the field, that'll mean our defensive line isn't doing the job that it's supposed to do.
Well, Mo, this is kind of what I'm thinking here. I can see specific packages where they go with the big physical guys, obviously Clowney and Miles. But if you put Malik McDowell in the middle there, that's another big physical guy who's athletic. Yep. And then you throw a Malik Jackson in there who's good in the pass rush too. That's kind of my thought there.
Yeah. And what do you think? I mean, the guy who was sacking the quarterback was Malveaux. And, it's kind of an interesting thing. Maybe he is not stout against the run, but he
got Weaver cut. That's what that was.
Yeah. I mean, Malveaux, it seems to me that he was getting into the quarterback. So,
there was a clip. Sorry, I don't mean to keep cutting you off, but there was a clip out of camp where it was one-on-ones, the tackles versus the ends or whatever. And he just bullied Jedrick Wills. And that concerned me because I thought, man, Wills doesn't look great. But now, after looking through the preseason, I think he's just that good.
Well, I mean, Jed Wills did jump off sides once. And those are the kind of things that really irritates Stefanski. Really big time. And Holding, I mean, Hudson the third, I don't know. He had a rough game.
He's a guard to me.
Harris was the one that got the holding penalty right off the fucking bat.
Right off the bat, yeah.
Number 53.
Yeah.
Yet, they can throw our defensive ends, into the fucking water cooler, and not a goddamn thing happens.
Well, what I will tell you is this, and I'll leave this argument for another time, Best Impact, is if one has to get cut, it has to be Felton, not Dearness Johnson. Yeah. I feel that strongly about this because I know running backs get hurt during the season.
Well, and there's a lot of money invested there. Your offense is based solely around your running backs off of that play action. So, yes.
COVID. Look, I mean, you can get hit with COVID and your running back can go away. We've seen it already, and we're going to see it again this year. We're already seeing it. I don't know if you've seen what's happening in Philadelphia, but the great leader of men, Carson Wentz, is non-vaccinated. Indeed. And he caught it from a staff member, and now 2 other guys have it as well. And, this is going to impact teams during the season. And if they are not vaccinated, it's going to be more symptomatic, and by rules of the NFL, have to stay out for a longer period of time. So, again, when presented with that choice, the players have a choice. And Carson Wentz has done what he's done his whole career. I choose me. And there's no I in team. And that's why.
But it's interesting that it's staffers who have been vaccinated who are actually the ones testing positive for COVID. It's fucking fascinating.
I don't know that it is in every instance that, but I'm telling you, if you don't live your life smart right now,
it was
you're
that
gonna
way
get
on the
it.
fucking Bills.
Well, again,
They snake bit the shit out of Cole Beasley because, well, he's not vaccinated and he's taking a political stand. Meanwhile, it's the fucking weight trainer who has been vaccinated, who's the one that fucking contracted COVID-19.
Well, and you can easily still catch it if you're not cautious about the company you keep and the density of the population of the people you're with. And if you don't wear any protection and yada, yada, yada. By now, it's so old that it's not even worth talking about. But let's just say that it's going to be a factor this year. And I'm sure one side will point at the other. To me, everything that needs to be done. I mean, if I'm a player,
No,
and
I
I'm
just hate this fucking vilification just because, well, he didn't want to get the vaccine. Well, if you read the fucking label, maybe you understand why.
Well, no, I mean, but there's a reverse thing too here, Brian, and I'm not going to let you get the last word in because that's what you folks do. I went to Whole Foods. I've been doing nothing but curbside, okay, where they load the groceries in your car and you take off, because going to Whole Foods, it's a big store and there can be a lot of people in it shopping for food. And I noticed when I went to their website, none of the sale prices. It's like, what's going on here? And it's like, in-store specials. In-store specials. We went in there and we had our masks on, our N95 masks. Fucking nobody in Florida is wearing masks because of the moron DeSantis. And this is the fastest growing state of all for COVID-19. Now, you're telling me that the only way I can get a sale price from a goddamn store is to go in? Who's being vilified? Who's being punished?
Hey, I have breaking Browns
You don't
news.
have
That's
to
pretty
fucking
big.
shop at Whole Foods, though.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Derek.
Breaking: the Cleveland Browns have waived defensive end Porter Gustin Jr. as well as Cameron Malvo. Malvo. Sorry.
He didn't last much longer than Weaver, did he?
That just came down.
And I appreciate you checking the wire out for us because this is what happens at this time, the slow trickle. And
so who's your defensive ends then?
Who was who was the first one?
It was Porter Gustin.
Well,
So
Porter's just flat out not. He's high motor, but not nearly athletic enough.
who is that Joe Jackson guy? He's
is she really going out with him? He's a musician, a British guy.
From the
stepping
Eagles,
out.
didn't he? Wasn't he on the Eagles?
I
No,
don't
well,
know.
if he was from Gary, Indiana, he would have shit out about fucking 18 kids. 5 of them you would know by name.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know.
I'm surprised about that I can't get his name right. How's he say
Malvo.
it? Malvo. I am shocked because I thought when this Curtis Weaver news came down, I've said my piece on it. I think Weaver could be pretty good. Whatever, they don't think so. He didn't do a whole lot, but I thought, well, then for sure Malvo is going to be the guy who makes it because, like you said, he was making plays. So, all right.
Well, but wasn't Weaver the one that got dinged up in the one preseason game?
I don't remember.
Yeah. At this point,
I thought he had to go out with some kind of forearm thing and then came back.
Are they going to keep 4 defensive ends then? Miles, Clowney, Jackson, and who else?
Look.
Well, but they're probably going to keep 7 defensive linemen total, and there's going to be somebody who can do both.
Well, they better count on Clowney then, because.
But the faster you see cuts being made, this is very fluid. Remember that there are people hitting the wire as well, and we're going to be looking at people just like people are going to be looking at our people. And if the front office has isolated its sight on a specific player that they think can be beneficial in a spot rotation for the team, you're going to see guys getting let go between now and 4 p.m. tomorrow. And that doesn't mean that that's the final roster the way it is. That just means, in a fluid sense, those guys definitely didn't make it. But
Also, some other news. This is not a cut, but this is kind of news, I guess you could say. The belief is that cornerback AJ Green will be making the final 53. So that's good.
yeah, and Caption Fierce
Oh,
says everybody
yeah.
has forgotten about Tack McKinley.
Well,
Well, there you have it. Point well taken.
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously the Browns, whatever it is that's going on with Tack McKinley, the Browns are in the know, not leaking whatever that information is, and are interested in pursuing him as a player and giving him time. So
Yeah,
again,
clearly
athleticism.
if they thought it was serious, not to say his issues aren't, because we don't know, but they wouldn't make these cuts based on what you've seen in the preseason. They just wouldn't. So they must be counting on him.
Yeah. There's so much that will be happening over the course of the next several hours. I was hoping we'd get some of it. The other thing I wanted to point out, and this is again not a done thing, but this is what I'm talking about with the Ravens. Now John Harbaugh is playing J.K. Dobbins, who got hurt in the ninth play in the first quarter of a game, season-ending ACL tear. And the thing that makes me really wonder is what Harbaugh actually had to say.
But is it any different than if it happens in week 1?
All right. But listen to how he answered questions. Asked what he would say to fans who wondered why Dobbins was in the game, Harbaugh said, "It's a fair conversation." And then he had noted that Dobbins had made only 23 plays, with a total of 10 touches in 3 preseason games. Then he said this. He said there are other teams who play their starters extensively, including some in the AFC North. But there are other teams that don't play their guys at all. They don't play their starters for one snap. Well, that would have been the Browns until yesterday. Do you hear footsteps, John? Did you get the feeling that you have to rely on Gus Edwards and Tyson Williams now as part of your big running attack? And you got Justice Hill and Nate McCrary, and that's the two who are still on the roster below them. You want to take me on with Gus Edwards, and you want to explain that to Lamar Jackson? You go right ahead. Was it his fault that J.K. Dobbins got hurt? Hell no. But you know something? You're absolutely right, Brian. It can happen anytime. And there could be something already
I remember
wrong
Tom
with it.
Brady dropping back against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City and taking a helmet to his fucking knee, and he was done for the year. Very first offensive play of the Patriots.
Yep. And that is the kind of thing. That's what
what the hell is if injuries are going to happen, they're going to happen.
Well, it's
you have
different.
to have game action, live action. You have to have fans in the stands, enemy territory, with fucking officials calling penalties.
I'm going
to have this shit.
I'm going to disagree with you on this point. I think because the Ravens offense is so heavily surrounded by the run, I think now that J.K. Dobbins is gone, unless they can find one of these good running backs who gets cut, they're now screwed because so much of that offense is based on, hey, not only can Lamar Jackson take it, but J.K. Dobbins can take it to the house. He's proven that. We know that. Now, teams are going to be lining up because you can tell. I mean, not every run play they do with the options is so obvious that it's a run, but they're going to treat it as a run. So when teams like the Browns, for instance, line up against the Ravens and it's clearly going to be an option and you can tell Lamar Jackson's taking the football, it's not going to go to Justice Hill or one of these third string running backs. Now you're screwed because there goes half of your run game. So no, I don't think they should have played Dobbins. I think if you want to play one of your key running backs, that's fine. Look what the Browns did with Kareem Hunt. And I'm not saying that their other guys are Kareem Hunt, but you cannot risk such a huge part of your offense. And I know what you'll say. Oh, what about the quarterback? Baker Mayfield did not get touched yesterday. And I know that's not always guaranteed to happen, but when you look at there's ways to avoid it. You can't avoid your running back not getting hit. It's going to happen. And I agree with you. Yes, he could get hurt in the regular season. I can live with that. I can't live with your starting running back getting injured for the season, torn ACL in the preseason. I understand your point. I get it. I just think in this situation, it's way different based on the guys they have and based on your need at that position.
My point in all of this is not to suggest that there should have been some Karnak the Magnificent, crystal ball the sideline of the Ravens. That's not the point. The point is that John Harbaugh is a one-dimensional coach. He has done nothing, absolutely nothing, to really build on a passing game. And even though he says every year he's going to do it, they're very run reliant. And the issue here is that he is, SAT word, pedantic about it. He just literally is just fixed to this way of doing things. And if you're fixed to playing that kind of football with Gus Edwards and Tyson Williams, you're going to, and you're trying to compete with the Cleveland Browns, who are obviously balanced. The thing with Cleveland was that they were run heavy and they didn't have their full roster of wide receivers, and they didn't have a system that Baker Mayfield had played in, and they didn't have a preseason to practice it in. And so when they played the Ravens the first time, they were not even ready to hit the field. They were just not ready to play. What you're going to have with Harbaugh and the Ravens is a forced reliance on the passing game. And this is something that bears scrutiny.
With
And
injured
I know
receivers.
A lot of Ravens fans don't like Harbaugh. He is a limiter. He is a defensive coach who relies on his defense getting it done. And it's getting harder and harder for defenses to stop the offensive barrage that teams throw at them. Mm-hmm. And if you can't get those first downs and eat up clock the way that the Ravens have, you're going to give possessions and wear down your defense, and you're just dead meat. Then you're just dead.
And they've lost a lot defensively too.
Yeah. I mean, they're not where they were, and I think, already, what I saw in the game yesterday, and it was driving me nuts because a storm came through and knocked my DirecTV off the air for the first possession. I basically saw the first holding running play and the second play, which was the pass to DPJ, and that was it. Then it was like, bye-bye, and it's like, oh God, no. Why is it doing this now of all times? But I did get to see the rest. And, what I got feedback that, the first possession, Baker was only 2 of 6 and he wasn't really sharp, and that but you take a look at 2 series, basically, it's all you had. Baker threw for 113 yards and completed his last 4 passes on a 70-yard drive. You look at the offensive yards generated in those 2 possessions, it's fucking scary. And I'm not saying that the Falcons are a team that anybody is going to worry about this year. So, but what I can say is that the Cleveland Browns offense is a lot better than what it has been in the past. And that's because we brought in a head coach who brought in a real legitimate scheme. And
Baker did that without Jarvis Landry and OBJ on the field.
That's right. I mean, and it looked easy. And even, when he threw the 35-yard reception to Austin Hooper, all of this stuff looked easy. and it was vanilla stuff. This was not anything that was specifically game planned for the Falcons. This is just the base set offense. And
Well, with
no,
Baker,
but they did have a couple of plays that mimicked the Kansas City offense.
well, yeah, the one was obvious, wasn't it? The Tyreek Hill thing.
well, but with Baker though, my biggest thing is that rollout to the left. You know, if that had been 2 years ago, he would have panicked. He would have seen somebody in his face and threw it away, or tried to run, or thrown a terrible pass. The fact that he rolled out to his left, saw a man, set his feet, was calm. You could see it in his eyes. He didn't care. He just let it rip and threw an elite pass. That's
That
the
was a
biggest
clutch
thing.
throw.
Well,
Year two.
and when they were down on the goal line, the very first possession, 43 had knocked down one of his passes, doing that same exact move.
I'll tell you a few things. The throw that Baker made to Hodge, you find me. How many guys in the league could make that throw? He's
3.
rolling out to his left, throwing, and he has to get his body turned around with a guy coming at him, and he threw it off of his back foot, and he leads him perfectly like that. You got to have a lot of arm strength.
Arm strength and accuracy. That's the reason why he was the number one pick, and he's finally showing it.
Yeah.
Mayfield's arm is still underrated.
Allen and Mahomes are the only two other guys that I think of that could make that throw.
I don't think Allen makes that. I'm sorry.
No, I think Allen's got a gun for an arm, but I don't know physically going in that direction what he's like.
I don't think his accuracy. I don't think his accuracy on the run. I could be wrong. I haven't seen a whole lot of him, but I don't think his accuracy on the run is even remotely close to Baker. That's just my opinion. But that was an incredible
throw and an incredible catch. I mean, just on both ends, just as good as it gets. I want to say something else, and I know Atlanta fans don't watch this program, but you know, you're looking at a 40-year-old guy who's your quarterback, and whether he can stay healthy is really questionable. And then you have this backup situation, and you have Josh Rosen, who they were acting as if he looked good. I think that he's an embarrassment to football. I don't know
he's an absolute bust.
And not only that, his attitude is incredibly bad. I mean, he's playing with guys. He's only been there for a week and a half, and he's playing with guys who aren't going to make the team. And on two major situations, he threw a ball where he thought the receiver was supposed to be, and the receiver went in the other direction. And both times, he started doing the theatrics with his hands and crouching down and bending his back backwards. And I mean, really bad body language that pisses teammates off. That's Jeff George-esque. That's something that no football team wants. But the one play that stood out to me, and you have to watch the game again because I don't even remember what the fucking circumstance was. He was running out of the pocket. He just went, and he shot-putted the ball into an open spot on the field. And nobody caught it. It's lucky that a defender didn't catch it. And it's like, what in the fuck is he doing?
That reminds me of the brief time that Jim McMahon played for the Browns in the preseason. I think it was the 94 season or 95, somewhere around there. And Jim McMahon threw a bad ball. Receiver didn't catch it. And I remember seeing his face. He was like, oh, come on. Like it was all the receiver's fault.
Exactly, and that's the way Josh Rosen's been since he got into the league. Is that it's like, if I don't make it in football, I'll do something else. I think he should do something else. And if the Falcons give him the backup position with a 40-year-old quarterback, it's going to be a long fucking year in Atlanta. I can tell you that.
Felipe Franks has an arm, and they talked about it a little bit last night. But I've watched him through college. He was at Florida there for his first, I want to say, 3 years. He might be a fifth-year senior. I don't know. But he's not a slouch. Who knows at the next level, but he's definitely got something.
Well, the thing that really made me feel good
was the play his brother made for the Browns.
Now, the preseason, the preseasons of years past, we'd always make excuses. Well, we're trying to find out who the best players are, and it's not full speed, and and then we'd hit the first game of the season. We're still playing at half speed because we're slowed. We got nobody, and teams are trouncing us. To go out there,
you and I both were watched the third preseason game in Tampa 2 years ago, and we were both like, yeah,
exactly,
because they had the numbers starting off a complete starting offense out there, and they could not do shit against 2s and 3s against Tampa Bay.
I swear to God, that holding call that they called on our backup center, the entire left side of the line, I mean, blocked. I mean, it was like that side of the line was totally cratered. I mean, I could have run for a few yards through that. I mean, they came out, and I don't care. They made some mistakes they shouldn't have made. They, holding calls, offsides calls, that kind of thing. And Baker threw a few balls that maybe weren't the best balls that he's going to throw. But they still were down inside the 10-yard line with an opportunity to score. The only thing I saw is that, got to work on red zone, and, you got to get the ball into the end zone for 7s and not 3s. But other than that, the Browns did whatever they wanted. And they never came close to even touching Baker Mayfield. Never came close. And the Browns came out and manhandled them.
Kind of breaking news here. Not really big news. But from Mary Kay, it says the Cleveland Browns are not planning on re-signing quarterback Kyle Lauletta to the practice squad. So he's gone for good.
Yeah,
good.
I mean, you can't... this was really harsh.
They can literally sign any other bum from any other team, and he's going to be better than Lauletta.
Lauletta just the mechanics were all fucked up, and he just
unless it's Josh Rosen.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Rosenstein.
The guy's a pop bottle, and this is what he's been, and this is what he will always be. And
man, talk about me being wrong. I was wrong on Rosen. That's probably my worst.
We've all been wrong about so many players, and I've gotten to the point where I just kind of bite my tongue, and what I notice is like Anthony Schwartz in the 3rd round. Really, that's the best guy you could find, and so I just kind of scratch my head and go, I don't know about that, but. We hit on Baker, we hit on Garrett, we hit, we've hit with a lot of picks here, and I'm not going to go that way. I mean, Felton might be a real nice 6th round pickup now, don't you think? I mean, considering what he's going to be asked to do, any contributions that he makes him a valuable 6th rounder. Look at Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I was going to say,
exactly.
that would be back-to-back 6th-round picks that
remarkable,
great value out of.
We have really got to think about a backup quarterback other than Case Keenum. If Baker Mayfield goes down, we're in deep, deep trouble.
Yeah, we're not going to score many points because we're going to be held out of the end zone because Case Keenum, it appears to me that unless the play calling was just really vanilla in the red zone yesterday. That
when are they going to stop letting him cash in on that Minnesota season?
Exactly. That's the thing is everybody keeps saying Case Keenum based off of that season. That's been what 2-3 years ago. He's failed in Denver, I believe. Was it Washington? Into.
Yep.
So this is not the same guy. Like, yes, it was Kevin Stefanski. Yeah, okay, whatever. But this is not the same guy. He's a bad backup, I think, and he's just
the only reason he was brought in is because of his familiarity with Stefanski's offense.
Part of the year, you can have a part. Do you think Nick Foles has ever been the same?
No.
Was Matt Castle ever the same?
No.
I mean, these people have their little flash in the pan.
Flash in the pans, exactly.
Well, and the reason why he was brought in the first place was not for his quarterback ability. It was for his leadership to help Baker. And I think it's proven now Baker don't need that anymore.
He's familiar, and his familiarity with Stefanski's offense. He was brought in to be a mentor for Baker to learn the offense, and now we don't need him anymore.
And his leadership has gone through the roof, in my opinion.
And here's the other thing is, and I remember from years past, not on the Browns specifically, but a guy like Scott Mitchell, who was a quarterback who had one half of a great year, and it turned out that he was just a bow wow. And teams, and I'm not saying that Nick Foles is a bow wow, but he's not. Whatever it was, what was it, 25 touchdowns and 2 interceptions? I mean, he had a magic season. I want to remind everybody that Perez, the Indians catcher, hit 300 one year. Okay, it doesn't mean anything, but you can't even get up to the Mendoza line for the rest of your career. This happens.
Well, and it's age too. That's the biggest thing. People want to talk about age with Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. We got to have the same thing here with these guys who aren't Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Keenum is older. It affects the same across the league with Hall of Fame guys, with Pro Bowl guys. It's just reality.
We need Cody Kessler back. Yeah, like we need spinal meningitis. There's another guy, totally underpowered. The only reason we got Cody Kessler was because he came from USC. That's the school of quarterbacks. Oh, when? I mean, I'm kind of looking at it and remembering. I remember a long time ago that was the case, but USC doesn't mean nearly what it used to.
What, when Frank Gifford was there?
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, it's a foolish argument.
That's like saying, Alabama makes great quarterbacks. They had Kenny Stabler and Joe Namath. Yeah, in the first half of the 1960s.
Well, and look at Justin Fields. That was one of the things that hurt him so bad was Ohio State quarterbacks in the NFL have not done exactly the greatest job. So it goes both ways, too.
Yeah. And going back to Baker Mayfield, hard as it might be to believe, you can see the leadership really coming out in him, and you can definitely see the improvement. Hard to believe, but we haven't even seen him reach his peak yet. He's not going to reach his peak, statistically speaking, for another couple of years.
Well, in his interviews too, there was a point in that interview with the NFL Network. I believe it was after the game or halftime or something. They asked him about what is the locker room like now versus a couple years ago. They set him up for an easy shot at Hugh Jackson. They set him up for an easy shot at Freddie Kitchens if they wanted to. Instead, he just kind of I forget what he said. I think he said basically it's different, which is right, but he could have easily went his old route of, he could have said, oh, well, we have much better leadership now. And then that would have been the story for the next week. It would have been, Baker Mayfield's ego with old head coaches. No, he didn't. He answered it properly, moved on, didn't even think about it. That's the thing to me.
Stefanski's been the best thing for Baker Mayfield. Absolute best thing, because it's business. There's none of this, the stuff that you saw on Hard Knocks, where the coaches are butting heads, where the head coach is having a problem with Todd Haley, who's having problems with somebody else. Everybody knows who's in charge here.
From the top, too. Andrew Berry. It starts from the top. Have you heard anything about Haslam? No, it's Andrew Berry.
Well, there's a calmness to the organization. I mean, you listen to Andrew Berry speak, you listen to Stefanski. It's all about business. And these people are not going to get into a this or that, a tit for tat. They're about, look, eliminate the goddamn mistakes, and we're going to keep working on it. And, none of this, well, we got to get better. I mean, you don't get better, you don't play. This is, we're all rowing the boat at the same time to get to where we're going. And I'm really thrilled that Baker Mayfield has the opportunity to play for an organized team that not only could help him offensively, but his offensive line, having a line coach of this credibility who's been successful at every level that he's been at, has made better guys out of the guys we already had, and will continue to make better players out of the ones that we're shaping right now.
And if you go back, if you
what?
go back to Baker Mayfield's very first press conference after they drafted him, they sat him down with Denzel Ward, as I recall. And in that press conference, he kept referring to Denzel Ward to make Denzel feel, part of the and not just all make it all about him. In other words, because he's the number one pick.
Yeah, well, Anthony Schwartz played 19 snaps. I didn't even notice him on the field that much. Jordan Franks played 50 snaps. They're taking a long, hard look. He's catching a lot of balls out there.
They cut him. I don't know if you saw that.
What?
They cut him.
They cut Jordan Franks?
Yep. That was one of the ones earlier.
Really?
Yeah.
That surprises me.
Even
that
after the Leon
he didn't
play.
last a little longer, but they're going to give him a chance to catch on somewhere.
Practice squad maybe for him. I don't know.
Maybe. Chris Hubbard played 32 snaps, and he's 9 months off of the bad knee injury. James Hudson III, 63 snaps. Make it, break it. I'm
telling you, I think they should try to keep him as a guard. Honestly.
Well, and that may be what the plan is. That may well be what the plan is. I mean, 63 snaps, that's a lot of snaps.
Because from college being a D tackle to moving to right tackle and then trying to move in the pros to left tackle, we think that's a lot for Wills. My goodness, that's a lot for Hudson. Especially with Wyatt Teller with his stuff. I would more try to move him into guard because I think he's not athletic enough, in my opinion, to play tackle. So I would try him at guard.
Now the interesting thing is, I didn't even know. I'm sitting there looking for Greedy Williams, and of course he wasn't going to play, and they had announced that earlier, and I didn't even read that. But again,
did Troy Hill
are
play
Greedy
at all?
and Delpit ever going to get healthy and stay healthy? I mean, that's a good question there.
I mean, we need people who are fast and aggressive.
The best ability is availability.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we're working with now.
Do you know
unless you're Zendejo?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't have an answer. I don't think anybody has an answer to that.
Do you have the numbers up for if Troy Hill played at all? Do you know?
I do not. His name was not mentioned in
I don't
the
think he
snap
did.
count.
No, I think only John Johnson played.
Right, and he was on the field.
Other new guys.
Yeah.
Yep. And now around the league, Brian Flores, the coach of the Dolphins, there is speculation that they're interested in Deshaun Watson. Flores said that his team wants players with high character.
And the fact that they didn't squash that right off the bat, I mean, way to crush a young guy's confidence.
I don't know what's going on, but
Dolphins are a train wreck.
Tua is, I mean, that could be one of the real bad draft picks.
And there was a report earlier today from, I heard it on Pat McAfee's show. He had somebody on and they were talking about it. The reason why the Texans, they don't want to get rid of Watson because what teams are doing is they're saying, hey, we'll trade you these multiple first round picks. But if midway through the season he gets suspended or next year he gets suspended, we want those picks back, or at least a good portion of them. And that's common sense. A team's not going to give you 3 first-round picks, 4 seconds, just to get nothing.
Well, Flores, it's interesting, went on to say something about Tua that really kind of makes me wonder. He has taken a step as far as leadership and working with his teammates to get things right, Flores said. He is asking more questions to us as a coaching staff situationally. The implication being that he was just doing things his own way last year. But they definitely, all the signals that I've seen coming from that coach by pulling Tua and putting Ryan Fitzpatrick in his place, really would tell me that there was not a strong commitment by this coaching staff with this player.
Hey,
So,
Willie Harvey was just released by the Browns.
well, that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me. But, you know, again, I just find that to be real interesting. Bill Belichick, well, you know, has not made a final decision on whether it's going to be Cam Newton or Mac Jones, but I can guarantee you it's going to be Cam Newton. I don't know if you... No, it's going to be. It's not going to be Mac Jones. Mac Jones got sacked 4 times. Sacked 4 fucking times.
Holding on the ball too long. How many times have we seen that in Cleveland?
Sacked, babe? I mean, Mac Jones was 10 of 14 for 156 yards, but he was sacked 4 times. You cannot eat the ball in this league. And this is, again, preseason where everything's going half speed. You cannot start Mac Jones at full speed, full tilt. I mean, that would be, you know, and I'm not saying that I'm high on Cam Newton, far from it. You know, but
as soon as you feel that Mac Jones is ready, you put him in because you got to go with the future. Cam Newton is not the future for anybody.
No. And as far as the Patriots are concerned, I don't know what their future looks like.
But with Mac Jones, and this is another thing, with the offensive coordinator there, who's Josh McDaniels. I don't know why I always forget his name. With him working with Tom Brady so long, he's got that style of offense. They just got to work him into it. And he can value from taking a few games, however it may be, you know, on the bench and learn from Cam Newton and try to learn how to process the game different.
And it doesn't help Mac Jones is referring to Cam Newton as, quote, a mentor. You know, that doesn't exactly make you friends with some of the veterans. You know, I think that we'll see what comes with Mac Jones, but he's slow of foot. And
I wonder if he'll be shopping at the Jimi Hendrix collection too.
Yeah, well, I really wonder how, you know, there's no escapability in that quarterback. And you know, he's going to have to make some very, very fast reads and have a very, very short passing game, because if he doesn't sight read well, he's going to be in real trouble. Real trouble. And, you know, so that Browns fans can just say, wow, how, you know, the not mighty have sunk lower. Brashad Perriman released by the Lions. That was the first cut the Lions made. And
their receivers suck.
Well, yeah, and Brashad Perriman was, I mean, never a guy who could hold on to a ball to save his soul. But in this instance, he had just signed a 1-year, $2.5 million deal in March with Detroit, and that was $2 million in guaranteed money that they just shit down the drain. And they and you're right, they have no wide receivers. So the other one I wanted to mention before I get out of here is, you know, watching a little bit, you know, I don't understand what the point of playing Joe Burrow 3 snaps and taking him out of the game is.
Yeah, what was that? He gave him 1 passing attempt.
It didn't make any sense to me. The whole thing, it's like, no, you're coming off the field.
Listen,
did you see what they just did? They just traded their starting center to the New York Giants. So you, instead of taking a left tackle or a tackle in general, you draft a receiver. Okay, whatever. You don't do a whole lot in the offseason to fix your line, and now you're trading your starting lineman. You think this is a good idea?
Who was the center they traded?
They traded Billy Price, who was the center at Ohio State. He's not that great, but still, he was their starter.
Well, they must think somebody's doing a better job in training camp. But, I mean, the thing didn't make any sense to me at all. It's like, look, you're better off not playing him at all if he's going to hand the ball off twice and then basically throw a little dink and dunk pass, and then you're going to trot him out of the game. But the thing that really keeps striking me in watching the Bengals early is that Lamar Chase looks horrible.
Jamar
Just look horrible. Have you seen what he's doing?
He was the one that dropped the Joe Burrow pass that was right in his fucking face.
He's just
literally
dropping everything.
Every game.
And was that a rap on him in college?
No. I think it's just
he dropped
because
4 passes all year. He dropped 4 passes in that one game.
You think it's the speed of the game is just in his head?
I think it's because he took the year off last year. And I'm not saying he didn't have the reason to, but I think just that year off is just really hurt him. I think instead of getting ready for the NFL, maybe he was slacking off a little bit. I don't know. I'm just saying you can see it. He's overthinking things. Instead of making the catch, he's looking downfield for where he should go, trying to make big plays.
Or who's going to
really
hit him.
is stunning that, because that's their new AJ Green, they think. And they, again, could have gone in a different direction in the first round, but they do what the Brown family has done from time immemorial. They keep taking wide receivers in that slot. And boy, if this guy doesn't pan out, I can't imagine he's as bad as what he's looked. Can't imagine.
No. He's definitely, just looking at him coming out of college, he is where, maybe not where he should have been picked, because Devontae Smith definitely had a much better year, especially given the fact that Jamar didn't play at all. But I think it's just the whole, and it's with Burrow too, honestly. And this is a report you were seeing out of camp. Mentally, they're just afraid because they know you're going to get hit.
Yeah. By the way, how is Devontae doing?
Good from what I've seen. I don't think, based on some of the preseason games I've seen with him, he hasn't looked like the superstar number one yet, but I wouldn't say he's looked bad. I mean, he's looked solid.
Yeah. Again, with wide receivers, I've seen second, third round guys like Mike Wallace, who went in the third round or below, who end up having bigger careers than the guys who go in the first two rounds. It has happened. But I think those two players are supposed to be really talented players. It would be hard for me to believe that Chase isn't going to do better. We're going to see him twice this year, so it'll be up close and personal. I got to get out of here because I got to fix my dinner and move along. But good panel. Kevin, thank you. Derek, thank you. Brian,
welcome.
Thank you. And we'll be back again on Friday. And we'll be talking more about the cuts and the shaping of the roster and game planning.
17 to go, last I saw. 17 more to go.
Yeah.
Cuts.
And we're just around the corner from September 12th. And, game planning for the Kansas City Chiefs, Rotsa Ruck. We'll be talking about it Friday. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again on Friday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.